Hi, welcome to Talking Books and Stuff, the program that talks all about books and writing and stuff. Here's your host, Dennis Rimmer.
Welcome back. It's Talking Books and Writing and Stuff. Today we're talking with Tamar Glouberman. We find her in Montreal. When she's not exploring the wilderness, we're told she can be found in Whistler, Montreal, or on Vancouver Island. Right now she's in Montreal. And Tamar has spent much of her life working as an outdoor guide. So let's jump right into it. What is an outdoor guide and how did you get into that job?
Well, I've done a lot of different kinds of outdoor guiding. Probably the thing I did the most that I write about in the book is raft guiding. These days, I do a lot of guiding that involves looking for wildlife, mostly grizzly bears, but other wildlife as well. And, it's sort of a whole variety of ways we do it. I drive bigger boats. I drive littler boats. I take people kayaking. I still row a raft. And we do hiking, and sometimes we go to just stand on platforms and wait. So a lot of things like that. I've also, through my life, I've done different kinds of guiding, like hiking and snowshoeing and snowmobiling. And a friend of mine once said, I don't know if there's any kind of guiding you haven't done. So basically, outdoor guide is like a guide that takes people on adventures outdoors. Sometimes sometimes things that are really pushing their comfort level, and sometimes just a nice little hike.
A nice little hike. I'm just recovering from knee surgery, so my nice little hike is like from the bedroom to the couch, but that's okay. You got to start somewhere. Right. And the reason we're talking with Tamar Glouberman is because of a book we have right in front of us. It's from Douglas and McIntyre, famous BC publishers. It's called Chasing Rivers, A Whitewater Life. And apparently, as a short woman who nearly failed high school gym, Glouberman does not fit the stereotype of a kayaker or raft guide. Is that really true, or are you pulling our legs here?
Well, I would say that's pretty true. I mean, things are changing. Maybe people are more open, but I can tell you that when I started guiding, people were expecting more big burly men and not me. Not to mention, I remember actually many years ago going back to my 10th year of high school, 10-year high school reunion, and I'd say that my gym teacher was shocked when he found out what I was doing with my life, that I was doing something more physical. I mean, the truth is I always loved canoeing at summer camp and stuff. So for some people, it's not that much of a shock, but I don't know. I mean, when I think back to myself in high school or elementary school, I'm like, I didn't really foresee myself doing sort of a physically active job my whole life. But there you have it. Things change.
Things change, and the book is a page-turning memoir exploring the spirit of adventure, the weight of responsibility, because you're a guide, so you're responsible for the people who are also in your craft, whether it's a boat or a raft or a kayak, I guess, and also to yourself. So there's a bit of a responsibility involved in the job. It's not just all fun and games, I'll say.
No, it's funny though, because over the course of my, rafting career, I had quite a few people say to me, and this is like verbatim, like, oh, it must be really nice having a job with no responsibilities. I'm like, that's kind of an interesting thing to say. I'm like, you're scared because but yeah, some people sort of really think of it as an amusement park ride, which unfortunately it is. Well, I should say fortunately. It's not. Fortunate or not, it's just that's not how it is. But yeah, that's definitely a big part of it. It's definitely something that I think for a lot of guides, it's what it weighs on us a bit. Like it's fun, but it can also there's consequences in what we do.
And I suppose it's something that you concentrate on for like total concentration for the time that you're. Let's take a casual river raft ride, if there is such a thing, for the 4 or 5 hours it'll take, and then are you exhausted when it's over?
Well, I'm just going to say there's, you say if that exists, there's definitely that exists. I mean, there's definitely some rivers you can work on that are very casual. You know, I've worked on some pretty casual, fun rivers where, you know, you're trying to get people to fall in and stuff. I mean, that's a lot of river rafting's like that. I don't know if I don't know that I felt exhausted at the end. Even the more stressful ones, you usually feel energized from the river, you know, like the river just brings you so much energy, and I'm part of being a raft guide as opposed to, like, I've done a lot of whitewater kayaking as well, but part of being like a raft guide is that you also get the energy from your group. You know, all these people, for them it's their first time, and you get to feed off of their energy. So usually I feel more like, you know, more energetic than anything at the end of the day.
Gotcha. Oh, I understand. Okay, sure. It's like, when I finish a podcast interview, I'm at a natural high almost, because it's so interesting and exciting, and I go, wow, that's fun. Can't wait to do it again.
Exactly.
And then I get nervous and don't want to do it again. But Tamar Glouberman is with us. She lives either in Whistler, Montreal, or on Vancouver Island. A memoir is here. It's called Chasing Rivers, a Whitewater Guide. It's from Douglas and McIntyre, so you can find it anywhere. And I implore you to go and find it right now and take a look at it. Now, there's a section in the book here where you talk about some guys that you're guiding who think they know it all, but then they don't end up knowing it all at all. Is that more common than we would think, or do most customers or clients listen to you and obey you because you're the expert and they're not?
I'm sort of at a loss for a moment about which section you're talking about.
I thought there was
trying to think of
a chapter in the book where some guys come and they think they know it all, and then at the end of the ride they don't know it all because they're not as smart as they thought they were. Or am I mistaken?
I don't know. Like, am I forgetting about a section of my book? Maybe we read it differently. I'm not really sure.
I thought it was something to do with the Chilko River. Tell us about the Chilko River then. So you've had lots of experiences in the Chilko River, which is up in the Chilcotin country, interior of BC. So what and where is the Chilko River? We'll just skip past that other section.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to think. I'm like, I kind of think I know what you're talking about now. We went up to scout this river. We went up to scout a big section of the Chilko, and the guys in my raft, they've been on quite a few rivers. Like, they've been on the classics, like the Grand Canyon and the Middle Fork of the Salmon and whatever. And they were, talking a lot about that. And then we went up and looked at, like, the first part of, we went up and looked at this rapid called Bidwell. And all of a sudden the guys were totally quiet. Because it is, the thing about the Chilko is it's like, it's a river that most people haven't heard of. Mm-hmm. Even people that paddle a lot have not heard of the Chilko. I mean, unless you're like a whitewater paddler living in British Columbia, chances are you haven't heard of the Chilko. It is, but it's an incredible stretch of river. Like, there's some really big rapids. It goes through all these different geoclimatic zones. I feel like I said that wrong, but yeah, you know what I mean. And it's like, it totally, like, like where you start up at Chilko Lake, which is one of the largest high alpine lakes in North America, and it's this beautiful, beautiful turquoise lake with, like, just good old BC scenery, what you would expect. And then but you go down, you go through, like, ranch lands and all sorts of different kinds of areas, and then eventually you end up out on the Fraser, like, going past, like, these giant sand dunes, and, like, the wildlife you see totally changes, and, like, by the end there's even cactus. They're really tiny cactus. You have to be careful because you can accidentally, like, grab onto one, as I have, like, try to climb up a slope. But like, it's a totally, you go from, like, these big, big, like, Douglas fir kind of things to, like, like this dry area with, like, cactus and everything. It's amazing how the scenery changes, but also, like, the whitewater is incredible. And unlike so many rivers, well-known rivers in the U.S., and that you can do a 7-day trip on, you don't need you don't need to wait in line for a permit or anything like that. Like, their chances are you're not going to see anybody out there. It's just an amazing experience.
And that's the Chilco River, and you've been there and done that, and you probably have the T-shirt as well. So,
well, that's the amazing thing about the Chilco is it's so it's really not well known. So there's not many T-shirts of it.
You can make one up and sell them as a side hustle, as they say. You're also a graduate of the Creative Writing MFA program at UBC. So let's jump back into the writing career. How did that start? And you must have gone to university somewhere before you went to the MFA program. Is that right?
Yeah, I went to the school formerly known as Ryerson. Can't tell you what it's known as now, but yeah, it was Ryerson when I was there, so I'm a Ryerson graduate. I studied film production, so absolutely nothing to do with what I did work in the film industry for a little while, and then one day I was just like, I really miss being a raft guide, and I decided to put all my energy into being as good a raft guide as I could, and getting as far as I could, kind of like other people were doing with their more traditional careers, I guess is the word. Yeah. So I studied film production at Ryerson.
Well, that's cool because the film industry in Canada is booming pretty much everywhere, which is great because I've been on a few film sets before, and it's not an easy job for the behind-the-scenes people. You're there early in the morning till late at night, and it's, like I said, it's not easy. So what did you work on any productions we would know about?
Not unless you're into really obscure productions, no. No, I didn't work on anything you'd know about.
Oh, well, that's okay. That's fine. There's lots of them out there. So you're a river rafter, let's say, and Chasing Rivers is the book, and it's about your various adventures. So let's talk about, let's see, it says here that you've been to places such as the Galapagos, Zambia, and Peru. So what kind of river is in Zambia that would need guides?
Well, the Zambezi is probably one of the biggest rivers that's commercially rafted anywhere. But I have to tell you, I was not river rafting while I was there. A friend of mine for years tried to get me to go kayaking with him in the Zambezi, and I'm terrified of it because not only is it really big whitewater, but as soon as you pull into an eddy, you've got to worry about crocodiles and hippos.
Oh,
I'm not into that.
Okay, well that's fine. Yes. I don't think I want to run into a hippo either in a river or in the dark alley somewhere. So I understand. Galapagos.
Yeah. So
Yep.
I'm just going to tell you, I was in Zambia because when I started working as a bear guide, I was working, in wildlife viewing, obviously, and one of the bear lodges that I worked at has a relationship with a safari company in Zambia. We did this guide exchange.
Oh.
So me and one of my coworkers went over to Zambia for 3 weeks to learn a bit about how they do wildlife guiding, and then two of the guys from Zambia came over to Canada for 3 weeks, which was also really cool. So
great.
Yeah.
Okay, now apparently there's different classifications for rivers, which I didn't know about. I thought a river was a river, but how do the guides and in your industry, how do you classify a river? What does it have, numbers, or what does it have?
Yeah, so like the scale that's used most often is a 1 to 6 scale, with 1 being, basically easy moving water kind of thing, and 6 being there's a good chance you're going to die if you run it.
Oh, jeez.
So most of the things you run are up to class 5 plus, or I mean, I'm not going to say people don't occasionally run class 6, but like class 6 is like, Niagara Falls. There's if your barrel is stuffed well enough, you can survive it. But it's not recommended. So most rivers go on a class 1 to 6 scale. With and there's variations between, like you'll say like class 3 minus, class 4 plus, whatever, that kind of thing. But it's a 1 to 6. And but then there's some rivers that have their own scales. So like the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon is rated on a 1 to 10 scale, but it's kind of different because the 10 is actually like runnable rapids that people run every day. It's just, but it is their hardest rapid. So, yeah, depends on what river you're on, but most go by a 1 to 6.
Now we're hearing these days that the Colorado River is kind of getting low. When was the last time you were there?
Well, the last time I was there was a long time ago now. It's 2009. It's been too long. A friend of mine just invited me on a trip that starts in a few days, and I'm like, man, I wish I could go, but I can't. But I've been invited on a couple of trips that I can't make. But it gets harder to take 3 weeks off of life. But the thing about that section of the Colorado is it's very much dam controlled, so it's up and down depending on its ups and downs have nothing to do with the natural flow. They have to do with the power needs in Las Vegas.
Well, there you go. So we'll blame Las Vegas.
But yes, the Colorado, you are right. The Colorado itself is getting really low, and it no longer goes all the way to its end anymore. It's really sad.
Yeah,
it's been so dammed up that it doesn't go to its natural terminus anymore. Well, very sad.
Let's just blow up all those dams and be done with it. Las Vegas can get its own power. So nuclear power, solar power. Anyway, so the book is a memoir of sorts, and you've got an MFA in creative writing. So what can you tell us the tricks and secrets to writing a memoir in general? Not necessarily yours, but do you have any secrets you can pass on to our listeners about writing a memoir?
Secrets. I'm trying to think of it. I don't know. It's you have to be okay with reliving your life over and over again. Here's an interesting thing about memoirs that I don't know. I guess I have no idea what other people know and don't know going into it. But something that I hadn't really thought that much about was what everybody else in the memoir is going to think. And I don't mean the people that, like, whatever, if there was people you didn't get along with or anything like that, but like the people that you even like write just good things about it. Still, when it's coming out, you have to start wondering, like, how are they going to feel about it? Because I don't know. I know, like, I would feel really weird if somebody was writing a book and I was a main character in their story, because we all remember things differently.
Right.
But I don't know. I guess the secret I would say is keep your emails so you have things to reference back to.
God, that's a good idea. So yeah, because your memory, like you say, is always different. Even in my own family, the three of us, brother, sister, and I, we remember everything completely different. I'll say, this is what happened on this day, and they'll say, no, it wasn't. We were in White Rock then. And I'll say, no, we were in Saskatoon. And they'll say, no, you were in Vancouver. What? I was there. I remember it this way. And they'll go, no, you're totally wrong. I'm like, what? Okay, so I understand. And so you just kind of have to let loose and put it all out there, I guess, and then hope for the best when you're done. Do you check with the people involved, or do you just, like you say, it's your life, so you just let her rip, as it were?
I mean, basically, I tried to be as respectful as I could to other people and all that, and I'd say that most of the people in my book, I really care about and respect and all that. And I part of me just hopes that comes out in the writing. But no, I didn't. I mean, I guess I checked in on people, like, I'd sometimes be like, I wonder if other people remember this way, and I would try to check in with people about that. But and as I said, like, if I had emails, if it was more, things that happened in the past 20 years, you can check in on emails and stuff like that, or look at pictures and all that kind of thing. But no, I didn't. I asked some people if they wanted me to change their names and all that, but I didn't. I didn't send copies of it to people and say, hey, do you think I should change this or anything like that? Because it's. I mean, that's part of the memoir. Is it's like, well, I'm doing the best I can to tell the story as well as I can. But
and this is the way it happened according to you. It's not a historical document where you check every source and every date 3 times over. It's the way you saw these events. I guess that's what the key is. Okay, Tamar Glouberman with us, Chasing Rivers, A Whitewater Life. She is spent much of her life working as an outdoor guide, like he said, and she can be found either in Whistler, Montreal, or Vancouver Island. And, you know, it's been all over the place, like we said, from the Galapagos to Peru, Zambia, lots of rivers in North America. But just before, a couple quick questions before we let you go. Galapagos
I'm just going to add
Yep.
a little shout. I also spend a lot of time in Bella these days.
Okay, that's in the upper coast.
Bella, yeah.
Upper coast of Vancouver Island, or not Vancouver Island, the mainland, but farther out.
Yeah.
So you get to Williams Lake and you head west. Is that pretty much?
Exactly.
Okay. And before we go, the Galapagos, what can you remember or tell us about the Galapagos? Because everybody in the world has heard about them thanks to Charles Darwin. So is it really as completely different as we're told?
It really is completely different as you're told. I heard so much about the Galapagos before I got there, and it was still shocking when I got there. Like you hear all these things about it, but hearing about how animals all these animals didn't evolve to have a fear of humans. It's very different than actually standing there and experiencing that, and like really realizing how much everywhere else you go, animals really are, generally afraid of humans. I mean, maybe there's the squirrel in the park that comes and approaches you and stuff, but generally speaking, like wild animals are generally like pretty wary around humans, and there it's just like, wow, do they not care? It's an amazing thing to experience. And just, like in terms of like, for me, where, certainly the Galapagos look way different than anywhere I've lived. It certainly doesn't look like you're in Canada when you're down there, that's for sure.
That's for sure. We're not in Montreal anymore, Dorothy.
No.
Or Tamar.
And just being able, it's an amazing place. It's really a truly beautiful and amazing place.
And how do you get there from here? Meaning North America or Canada. How do you get to the Galapagos from Vancouver, let's say?
Well, usually you fly to, often, I don't know, it depends. There's different routes, but you fly from Vancouver to some other city and then switch over to a plane and then fly to Quito. But as far as I know, when I was going there, you definitely couldn't fly from Vancouver straight to Quito. So usually it takes at least a couple of flights to get to Quito, and then from Quito you fly into Baltra, or actually there's another airport too, but I always flew into Baltra, which is one of the Galapagos Islands.
So you don't
it's a bit of an ordeal.
You don't have to take a boat. You can fly there, I guess is what I was
Oh
wondering.
no, you can. I've always flown to the Galapagos.
Gotcha. And this is Tamar Glouberman. The book is Chasing Rivers from Douglas and McIntyre. It's a memoir of her whitewater life, and it's a page-turning memoir. So there you go. That's a good tagline. Before we go, one quick question. What's your favorite morning drink?
My favorite morning drink?
Yeah. If you have one.
Water. Water.
Well, that makes sense. You've been on the water all your life. So. Okay, so you're not a coffee or tea or anything like that kind of person?
No.
Okay, we got it. Water. You want to be a river guide? Drink water. It's in you. You'll be around it all the time. Tamar, thank you very much, and we'll get this out there and hope a few people here and there pick it up and go look for the book, because the book is there now forever, so that's great. It's a wonderful memoir, and again, we thank you for your time.
I thank you very much. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you for visiting with us today. This is Talking Books and Stuff with Dennis Rimmer. Contact him at dennis@talkingbooks.tk. Thank you, and may all the good news be yours. Oh, and don't forget to check out his book, The Great Canadian Notebook, available across Canada and at amazon.ca.